Welcome to another episode of the Top Gunner Podcast, and today is 2/3/25. Guess what?
What?
It's the beginning of the month of February. So I guess the second.
A round of applause for the month of February.
Yeah. The second month of the year 2025. So if you haven't done nothing,
Give it up for
yet,
2025. Go ahead and hit it again. Yeah.
So if you haven't done anything till now, you still have time.
You do have time.
To
but you're running out.
Yeah.
You're running out.
You're down by 1 month only. So you got 11 months to accomplish all your goals you set for 2025. So let's go get it.
But just remember, time is fleeting and everything fades. And one day we'll all die. So let's go ahead and get into this news.
Yeah. All right.
Smash them with this news.
Let's start with
some good ass news. Not a lot of news, but the news that is there is substantial in a way.
Yeah, that's true. Madrid without Rudiger, he got injured this week, and I think he will be out for the first leg of who's Madrid playing against City.
Man City, yeah.
And he will be out for the derby against Atletico Madrid.
Wow. Yeah, because it was
big games without him, man.
2 massive games. He only played 15 minutes in this opening against Espanyol. I mean that's really unfortunate to see there. Right when because he's had some injury problems lately. Yeah, and this is the last thing that you want, because even though Tchouaméni, he's exactly. Yeah. So they're really losing some coverage there, and
especially that Rudiger is a pure CB. Yeah. So that's different from someone that's just adapting to the position.
And they just
best defender.
Yeah, and they just refused to get someone in the transfer window.
I think so,
because they never really released anything saying that we're trying for this person, or they never actually declared either that we're not trying for it. Because some clubs will do that. Yeah, like we're not we're not interested in going for the transfer window. Hell, Madrid closes theirs early and says that they're closing it early in the summer. So, and there's a confidence in that, and they kind of left everybody hanging in terms of what were they actually going to try to do, because everyone understands that whether or not they can play worse than they are, which they could, they still need somebody. You can play well and still need somebody.
I wonder if they're thinking, since Alaba is coming back, they're probably gonna one of these youngsters. I'm not sure. I'm interested to see what they're really thinking about. On the flip side, Rashford to Aston Villa. Yeah. Finally. So, did you see the picture that he took with the when he signed?
Yeah.
He looked like he just got pulled out from a hangover and say, "Hey man, today is
he might have been. I don't know.
He's taking a photo up," and he's like, "Oh my God, sure." But hopefully that he gets there and restarts his career. Yeah. What do you think if you get there? If you're Rashford, get things back in a sense, and just kind of hit the ground running. And do you think that Manchester United is gonna be like, "Oh, you know what? Since he's on loan, let's get the guy back."
They could try that. I don't think that they will, though, because there are certain loans that go, like younger players when they go out on loan, it's because the parent club wants them to get more experience, and there's not room for them in the lineup, so there's no hard feelings, and everybody, they're going on loan with the objective of coming back to the parent club. Yeah. But then there are other times where it's later, people that are later on in their careers, they go on loan. Not because no one wants to terminate the contract, and nobody wants to fully buy out the contract. Right, yeah. So to me, it's at least go on loan, split the wages with Aston Villa because they can afford it. Yeah. And, once the contract gets a little bit lower and the price for buying it out gets a little bit lower, either Villa buys it out completely because he's playing well, or someone else is interested. I don't see a way where he really wants to or is wanted to come back into the squad. Not because he's even playing that poorly, but just because, it's the end of an era, let it go. Yeah. You're already wearing a different jersey that, that moves things along in the process. Yeah, you break up and then all of a sudden, who's going to invite who to go out for coffee again? It doesn't make much sense to me. And, it's a good move for him. Some people said that it should have been a non-English club to sort of just scrub that feeling away and just brand new fresh start, as opposed to moving, left a couple of minutes to Birmingham and I'm not saying that it's the same, same club, same history, same thing, but like the bubble of English football might not have been where he needed to stay, but we'll see.
I feel like just for him as a person, if he's like mentally to reset and new challenges far from your comfort zone in a sense, but
but then again, you also think about English players with the history of not really wanting to learn a different language, not really feeling comfortable going. And these are young players, and then the older that you get, the less likely it is for you to learn a new skill. Like no one's really going to be able to fully learn a new language at 40.
Yeah,
even though we try on Duolingo.
Yeah.
But maybe he did think that in a kind of a closed-minded way, but that's fine because it's not the only. I mean, there are German players that don't like leaving German clubs either. So like it's not just the English.
Yeah.
But at 28, 29, are you really wanting to completely uproot everything, or is a different English club a fresh start there? Is that enough for you mentally to feel like a completely clean slate?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, on the flip side, or on the other side of the biggest competition in terms of club history, the Champions League just got released the brackets on last Friday. And it's pretty interesting. So if you still don't know how that works,
and some people don't. Some people in the media still don't know how it works.
Yeah, it's 36 teams thrown in a whole ballot, and the first 8 got automatic qualification, and from 9th to 16 they go to the system called the playoffs, and you know what the playoffs is? The knockoffs, and the
knockoffs. Yeah. This feels like a knockoff train. I'm kidding. It's fine.
And the first 8 just kind of wait for this whole 9 to 16 to finish the deal. So they go into this thing that you call the lottery. So they just pick random. They match them, and after they play, they still have another. I think they on February, later this February or early March, they have another lottery to match all the teams together now for the final stage. But yes, if you didn't know, that's how it goes. Long story short,
the playoff is the seeded and unseeded teams.
Yes,
outside of that top 8, they get that bye week. That bye week if you're playing the NFL.
So if you Liverpool, Barcelona, you might wait, you might get either Brest or Brest, or PSG, or you might also get Monaco or Benfica. So if you're Aston Villa, you might get Club Brugge, Atlanta. So it goes on and so forth. But it's interesting because the games, the knockout games or the playoffs games, is very, very interesting. Because there's some big games in there. I'm talking about City versus Madrid. It's like having a final before the final.
Yep.
Yeah, so you're getting a glimpse of what it could be. And I think another game, I think what will be really, really interesting is to see Brest knock out PSG.
They could.
I think the French might go crazy on
well, they would go. I think everyone in Europe would go nuts pretty much because everybody does love to pick on PSG because they're the big bully. That it's the big bully of a tiny family, and then he goes to meet his cousins and they're bigger and they beat the shit out of him. That's what PSG feels like to me. It's like, just because everyone's 5'1" in your family doesn't mean that we're all that way. So you step outside and you get your ass kicked. That's how it works.
That would be oof, man.
I think that Juventus and Eindhoven might actually be one of the more
interesting game,
entertaining. They're pretty closely matched, and they can both scrap out something interesting.
Monaco, Benfica too. Looking at it,
I agree with that one too. Yeah,
I think Bayern got it a little bit easy, but you never know. Is the big leagues, but at this point, experience start to take over, and also the club notoriety and kind of that feeling of the big guys at this point of the competition. Not to say they can't win, but it's a different whole game. Especially mentally, it's a different thing. It's not like you're playing at home. But City, Madrid, oh la la.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Oh yeah.
And it's interesting as well because it's a lot like what I said about Chelsea and City, where there's a dip and there's a rise in form.
Yeah.
And, City have gotten themselves out of the hole a tiny bit.
Yeah.
And Madrid are struggling again. They're a little bit more evenly matched, but unlike previous matchups with these two guys, they're kind of meeting each other in mediocrity for what's expected of them. They're not bad sides by any means, although you could make the bid that City is actively playing bad football.
But
it'll be more exciting because it's not going to be the cleanest the most polished. You're not watching these two clubs under the pretense of I'm watching the two best performing sides in Europe right now.
Yes.
Historically, I mean, especially in recent history, we're watching two very decorated sides go at it, but they're not at their best, and that can actually be more exciting and entertaining than watching them play at their full caliber.
Will you have taking this one home?
I think Madrid takes that one still. I think that City are still a little too loose at the back.
Yeah.
And I think that gives people like Vinny that are out of their form, and Mbappe that on any given day can have his form, and Rodrigo who's consistently on his fucking form at all times. And I think that if you fixate on them, then all of a sudden Valverde's free right outside the box, and he can bury that in the back of the net, and he's proven that time and time again. I think and then you have Bellingham just doing kind of whatever he wants. I think that the attacking power is a little too much for, I mean, who's the Kuzana or whatever the kid was that had that wretched 5 minutes for City. Vardiol's all over the place. Diaz isn't back. Ake's fine. Akanji's still not good enough, and no one really wants to talk about that yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, Matheus Nunes is playing out of position and really showing it. So, like, I think that those two lined up together, the attacking power of Madrid's a little too much.
If I had to go, I'll pick Madrid still because, I mean, Madrid they have faced each other time and again, and we've seen the outcome. And when times push come to shove, especially in this competition, Madrid might not be the best side at the moment, but usually they shine in situations like this, which at the same time they are not at the best of their forms. Both of them, although these are giants, guys, but
we've had this conversation.
Defense are lacking. So
and then even if they're not playing at their best, they know exactly what is needed of them in this kind of competition. You can look at the flip side where Real Madrid are not playing their best, but you still expect them to go the farthest because historically they're able to do that. Same thing with Arsenal in the reverse, where yes, they might be playing very well in Europe. They might have a well-oiled side. Historically, they just do not do well in this tournament. So even though you have somebody like Aston Villa and Arsenal, and I'm just using these as an example because they both belong in the same league, in the Premier League, Arsenal is the more decorated side. But Aston Villa have one more European title than they do. So historically speaking, Aston Villa should be expected to win it more than Arsenal, despite having a lesser side than Arsenal, because some clubs just do not do well in these competitions. The two-leg formats do not work for them. Playing people outside of your domestic league, you have trouble adapting to different styles and different energy.
Especially for people that didn't know, after the matchups for the 16, so from 9 to 16, where they play home and away, the rest of the competition is knockout. So I think it's one game out. I don't think they're playing.
No. It's two legs all the way.
Oh, 2 legs. Okay. Okay.
Well, and then the benefit of some of these clubs having more experience playing outside of their leagues. PSG got very lucky because they know how to beat the shit out of Brest. They've done it before this year already. Like they got very lucky getting a team that we know what you do. Here we go. Whereas
it's interesting though. I feel like PSG Barcelona might be. I feel like PSG Barcelona might be a really good match. I don't know if they'll get Barcelona because they might either, if they win Brest, they might either get Barcelona or Liverpool.
Yeah, which you don't want either right now. But I mean, that shows this format's interesting because I mean that's you paying for not performing well in the league stage. You're more likely to get these.
Arsenal Inter too is very interesting. Arsenal might get either Milan, which to be frank, honest, I want Arsenal to go a little bit far, so I wouldn't want them to meet Milan. I want them to meet either Feyenoord or I think they might get PSV. They might get Juventus too. Because I know for sure Juventus is beating the crap out of PSV and Eindhoven. There's just no way Eindhoven will win this one. There's just no.
I don't think that it's likely that they'll win it, but I do think that it could be more competitive over the two legs. I think the Juventus are a little sluggish. They don't have someone up front that's really able to rattle them home. I don't know. Like it's not the best Juventus side that we've seen.
Now, I think Liverpool or Benfica Barcelona will be a great game. Like it will be because based on historical evidence, but just these two guys.
I was gonna say Benfica and Barcelona. The crowd will be interesting to see that one. That'll be a very aggressive crowd.
So if I had to guess, I think Madrid will come out of there. Alana. but there's a lot of surprises. Just my guess. I would say
Milan, someone's gonna be upset. We just don't know exactly who.
I say AC Milan will get for sure. Bayern is for sure. I don't think.
What if that's the one? What if that's the shocker? That'd be amazing.
Man, that would be something.
I'd be so happy, not because it's Bayern Munich and I have something against them, but like that's the pinnacle of what I'm talking about upsetting the giant. Like, in this lineup, that's the biggest club against the littlest like expectation.
Yeah. Also, Sporting Dortmund, I feel like they're evenly matched. So whatever happens,
that's probably the most even match of the bunch.
Monaco Benfica, I feel like that's gonna be a great game. Those two together, yes. The only upset that would be like, wow, Brest beating PSG. I just want to see how the French is gonna.
Because what was their last matchup was 4-2. I think. Yeah. So we'll see. And again, unlike everybody else, where you're kind of you're watching more footage, you're kind of theorizing how you're going to play against the Italian side and the English side. Like you're not used to that. These guys play each other often. They play in the same league. They know what's exactly expected of each of them, for better or worse. And I think that kind of allows for raw talent to shine a little bit more.
That's true.
And I do think that the guys like Vitinha and Zaire Emery and Dembele's in form again. Bradley Barcola is lights out right now. He's playing so well.
That is very true.
He was linked to Arsenal in the transfer window for a minute, and I got so excited. But even though I knew it was kind of a shot in the dark there. But that's who you want to replace Martinelli on that left wing.
That is true. But at least we got they have a French team that's directly playing the knockout stage. Lille, that's very interesting too. I feel like the format is it's doing justice to a lot of teams, not just you can already know or expect what teams are going to play at the highest level of the competition, but now everyone is kind of in the mix, so it's pretty interesting to see what will come out of those.
That league stage really helped kind of even things out, because it's one thing to expect what to do over two legs, home and away, but when you're getting one extra big matchup in, and you're not guaranteed to play them home, away or home both. You have these kind of one-off matches that are not single elimination, but I mean, let's say that you lose against PSG at home, you don't get the luxury of saying, "Oh, well, we get them on the way back, and we'll see what." Like you don't get to have that opportunity. So I think that kind of allows for bigger clubs to make minor mistakes, and for small clubs to be able to get the dagger in really quick and run away before the big guy jumps on them again. And it's really cool. I think it's been a really fun kind of guesstimation, and we still don't really know like what a great performance. I guess Liverpool's performance in the league stage was great objectively, but like what can you of the 8 weeks, how low can you be at week 3 or week 4 before we start going, statistically speaking, you're out, or like it's very unlikely that you come back. We don't really know, because they were all half that table was tied for points most of the time. A lot of it came down to goal difference to even get in or out of the playoffs. It was interesting.
That is true. Going back to the Premier League this weekend, if you didn't watch the game, if you didn't catch the game, you missed Arsenal giving a whooping to City. And sometimes in life you gotta be humble, and whenever you taunt people, don't forget karma is a B. I don't curse, but that's what it does sometimes. You remember Haaland doing, "Hey, be humble, guess what? Came back to bite him right in the butt."
I mean, and so like
Arsenal 5-1.
So do you hold a lot of stock in what he said?
No, but for players in that world, they might, because it's like, think about it. You produce a movie and you all of a sudden you're excited and you meet one of your partner in that scene and they're like, "That's trash" and whatnot. You kind of feel like, come on, bro. In the same industry, you're supposed to be not saying you can't be critical, but if you're just gonna trash me like that, the next time you do something, I'm holding that against your head, because some people take things so serious, and this is in the realm of competitiveness. So I see.
Okay.
Because all of them was kind of doing the same thing, like the Arsenal players, but Arteta had to say something. I read he was telling them to not taunt, but
and you can tell them that, and then once they're out there in the moment, they do it. But it's like, it was just interesting because like that got almost as many press headlines as the game itself, like the actual, like not even just the score line at the end, because that's usually your headline, obviously, but like talking about the actual game itself, like even that was overshadowed by
I feel like it's also
the taunting and the celebrations and whatnot.
Haaland did it the first time. Because if it was just at the press conference and said something, but doing the game, walking up to Arteta, that's disrespect.
Well, and it was because it was earlier this season that happened. And what's funny is that everybody that spoke against Lewis Skelly doing the Haaland celebration and Gabriel doing that, they were like, why are they taunting like they are gonna win the league, or like but Haaland, when he said be humble and he said who the fuck are you to Lewis Skelly, that was this year where they're not going to win it either. So it's like if it was in the year that they won 4 back-to-back, like I get that, like we're at the top of the table, we're doing this and that, but like neither one of you are catching Liverpool. So like you telling someone else to be humble as if you're at the top of the league it doesn't make much sense to me either. Like,
I see.
They're in a similar boat in both these matchups. But I think that the public want to think they're just looking at last season, not this season. But he said it this season. If he'd said it last season, you let it go and you accept it. But at least in the feel of the moment, if I'm whooping
your butt, I'm gonna say something. So especially if you said something before, like I said, but don't be taunting if you don't want it to come back. Just be humble.
Yeah. I mean, and like, that's what I'm saying as well, though. It's just that, like, when the context in which Haaland said it wasn't in a way that was like an assured victory, a guaranteed higher play. Like, it was just one matchup that you were upset during, right? Like, the two teams don't like each other. I understand that.
That's true.
And you don't have to play like little schoolboys, even if you don't like each other, even if there's not, the title's not at stake in that matchup. I'm not saying that. But yeah, I mean, like, they forget that the context that he said that in, there were no real stakes in that matchup either this season. It was undecided, and you guys shat the bed in the winter anyway.
That's true.
So I don't know.
I mean, looking at the game, man, the game was pretty awesome. I think what broke City is when they scored, because the first half City was kind of I didn't really see much of City, and essentially Arsenal missed a lot.
Yes.
So when they came back for the second half, I think that goal gave City a boost. But when Partey just, it's an action reaction. There was no time to digest and to settle down.
And so quickly after as well.
Yeah, that just killed them. And then Arsenal kept pouncing and pounding and just kept scoring, and I was like, everybody played well. There wasn't really, I would say close to perfection in that game, except some defensive mistakes, but not really too apparent. Arsenal played very well, every single person.
Even if you look at who the weakest link would have been, Kai Havertz missing that sitter in the first half, at least he came back in the 70th or so and got something else in. If he hadn't been able to do that kind of a thing, then it's like someone else didn't play well. But even missing the open net, that, I mean, you can sit here and say 5-1, that's great, and he gets one in on that action as well. So confidence, it should be 6-1. You have to hit that one shot, and it's like, I understand that this game the stakes were not super high because what he buried, that he was the fourth, and that locks it away. But man, you needed to have 2 on the night, because even some defenders, I saw someone say like Tony Adams buries that in back. You know what I mean? Like, that's not even just a like positional thing of like, well, you're a forward, so you should be more likely to finish that. If you touch a football week in, week out, day to day during training, in theory, you should be able to hit that sitter. Yeah. And everybody misses them, and I get that. But that on top of some of the track record that he's had in the last couple of seasons.
Bernardo Silva, what a dirty player when he can't have his way.
When he can't
win.
What
is that? And unfortunate thing, Michael Oliver didn't ref the game, so he couldn't give you guys.
I saw some people say like that's just what Portuguese players do. They're sore losers.
It's like when they start losing, it's
not so fun anymore.
They're like kids. They start
I'm going home.
Tantrums. So I don't get. I don't understand how he wasn't even booked. So that is very, very interesting.
With that kick in the ass you're talking about.
Oh my goodness, this guy. I don't get him. But Nwaneri. Ooh la la. Nwaneri, Lewis Kelly actually showed promises of prospect talent that could potentially be the next generation of talented players or the next generation of or superstars or stars or big players, and that's what I expect this kind of players to do in games like this or in matches like this. That's what you expect prospect to do. You want to actually see them prove that they can be worthy of being followed. So they did.
And you can't really compare them in terms of their impact because they're different. Different positions, different expectations. But when Yeri, as a forward, it's not even that he's just creating chances. It's not even that he's just trying. It's not even that he's just annoying defenders to pull them out of position. He's finishing.
Yes,
he's finishing. There's a difference. And fuck Lewis Skelly's finishing in positions where he shouldn't either. But when Yeri, I mean it in a different kind of way because there are tons of forwards that bring something to the game as an outside player or a wide player, and it's not necessarily scoring goals or finishing, but he has some distance. He has ability on the ball, and the finished product is already there. Whereas, you remember the first 3 seasons of Bukayo Saka, hard worker, great dribbler, great passer back inside. The finishing wasn't there, and then he figured it out, and now but when Yeri's already not only doing what Saka wasn't doing, but he's playing like him as well.
That is true.
You can tell that he's looking exactly at him in training and going, okay, how'd you do that? And then figuring out how it's done. Amazing jump start for this kid. It's crazy.
I'm hoping are we ready to say well, you can't really determine an end of an era unless at least 2 seasons or 1 complete season has been blown out. But can we say City is not, well, obviously they're not City of 2 or 3 years ago, but is there potentially end of an era where we don't see that complete dominance from City? Or do you think that there's potential for them to come back next year? Because I'm not even sure if Pep Guardiola is going to do more than 2 years there. I think his contract has 1 more year after this year. So do you think they have a potential to come back to play at that level? Or this is City has just... Because they said the standard is so high, or City is just now at the level of everyone. Where everyone
it's unrealistic for them to maintain where they have been. But I think that it's more difficult for them now than they even might think so, because it's not just the fact that your newer signings over the last 3 seasons have not clicked completely. That was hidden behind the fact that your star players were still playing well. So now you kind of have this double-edged issue going on where the starting players that you have have talent, they can't go anymore. De Bruyne can't go. He can't play 60 minutes. In 2 back-to-back matches. He can't play full matches anymore. Bernardo Silva has been pulled all across the place, being more defensively minded, really showing the issues and lack of defending skills that he has. And then Ruben, Akanji's hurting Diaz, who is the great player, but then Diaz was masking the fact that Akanji never quite had it. But now that they're affecting each other, it's even more clear. You're not only do you not have the younger players to come to because you've kind of had many poor transfers in a short period of time, but the guys that you expect to pull you up, the veteran players, they can't do it anymore either. So you have no one to actually look to. So the issue is bigger than I think that even they think it is. It's not a small problem anymore.
I also think the mentality of that that gladiator mentality, that super hardcore, I have it, I want to winner mentality is not as there as much as the older guys had it, because you can tell every time they play. I mean, Foden gave out 3 balls that he wouldn't have done it 2 years ago. And all the other players, they played crap, and there was not a fear to get back at it right away. Like the City you've known 2 or 3 years, where if they had lost a ball, you best believe the pressure the opposition or the opponent team will have felt. Will have been greater than.
and it's the thing as well. It's hard for a lot of these players to have that gladiator mentality when they haven't been the ones that were doing it. Matheus Nunes doesn't have that same drive that De Bruyne or Gundogan have. And it's not Gundogan's fault really that he can't do that physically anymore. He's probably the one that still has the best mentality of the whole bunch, but his physicality's gone because he's 34. What are you gonna do? You can't do that against those guys anymore. Savinho doesn't have a frame of reference for winning 4 Premier Leagues back to back. He doesn't know what it means to lose that. I'm not picking on individual players because they're not Vardiol. Like there's guys that have come into the system expecting to be at the top,
but not
and didn't help build the whole system. And I think that takes some of your drive away. And that's what I'm saying. The guys that are expected to continue it don't have the reference point, and the ones that helped them do it are now shot. Yeah. And now you're stuck with a roster. No one can do anything for different reasons.
That's true. Well, Manchester United, Crystal Palace, what a hard season for Robert Amorim.
Let me ask you a question.
Just continuing the long deceptions.
Let me ask you a question. We're going to go kind of behind the scenes of the podcast here really quick. So he and I put together formats for the show throughout the week. We sort of, grab bits of news. We kind of talk about which matchups we're going to talk about before even the matches take place, just on the face of it. And if something changes, if a matchup comes around that was a shocker, we might add it in the night before and have some late night prep. Let me ask you a question. Yep. Why are we talking about United? I hate talking about United. They suck so much. They're boring to watch. They have no stars on the team. But the few that they do have, you got to hope that they have a bright and shining day themselves, because no one else is going to help them achieve it. Why are we talking about this club right now?
Manchester United is a funny club. I guess the reason why we might be talking about them, it's because I thought a little bit of star or lights at the end of this dark tunnel that they are in that we could have seen by now. Yeah. Although I think
we need to see something, right?
Because it's a year where I know for sure they're not gonna do anything. They're just building. But it seems to me like 13th place is just where, or 15th place is just where they're comfortable at. It's not, at the end of the day, it's not the players just, I think the whole system has to be revamped if they want something. These old guys have to be let go, build something out of nothing. Start from
they already got nothing
from scratch, because at this point it's just an embarrassment. You think they will do something, but at the end of the day, United just shows you why they're United.
So let me ask you a question here. If they're performing so poorly in the Premier League, but they are projected winners for the Europa League,
that's interesting.
Does that show? I'm trying to use my words respectfully here. Does that show the lack of quality in the Europa League?
Ooh, it depends if they win, though, because
if they win, but right now, I mean, they're performing very well in the Europa League.
Which is interesting too, because some people do that. I remember Chelsea had a year where I think what year, 2013 or 14, where they actually was trash in the Premier League, but they performed so well in the Europa. I don't know exactly what's the phenomenon. I think it's because since you're not really playing people from doing the same kind of the same system in a sense, you have the ability to kind of play different system, which makes it a little bit, I won't say easy, but different. If you're playing someone from France and you play probably like Brest or Nantes, the system changes and you're like, oh, I can play well to this, or you're playing someone from Belarus or something. Yeah. That's also why, but at the highest stage of that competition, I don't think they will do as well as they're doing now.
Yeah, I do think that it shows, again, because people get worked up about the idea of saying 20 for 20 teams on one table, that the Premier League is the best league in the world, despite people saying, well, the top La Liga sides have a better history winning in Europe, therefore that league is better. No, that means that they have certain clubs performing at the very top that know how to work European competition better. But 20 for 20 is different. I think that's showing here. I think that, to go 5-3 with 0 losses.
Yeah. In that competition,
playing against, Olympiacos, Bodo Glimt, Anderlecht, a really bad Ajax. Holy cow. Yeah, historically low for Ajax. I'm just sorry. I'm looking at some of the Febernanch.
Yeah.
Besiktas. Like these clubs probably don't fare very well
Interesting
in the Premier League,
because also they have a drop in form. Besiktas. 5-6 years ago was really,
sure.
So that's also another thing to consider. But it also shows that I think they just probably might be a better performer in the Europa.
Yeah. So, and keep in mind also though that there's no relegation system for the European competition. So nobody's coming down from Champions League this year.
Yeah.
So really what you have, the top 4 are the ones most likely to win this thing. That's Lazio, Athletic, United, and Spurs. And Eintracht Frankfurt that are playing well in the domestic league. So, I mean, there's no one that's going to be newly introduced.
Yeah.
That's going to really take this thing for a ride.
At the top when they start playing, because you have Lyon, Tottenham, Atletico, Lazio, that's where I think that the competition will be harder for clubs like United. But now, which is interesting because people like Porto, Roma, Ajax, they're really having a bad they're really dropping form too. But it also shows how good United could be as compared to these clubs in that competition.
Yeah.
Because
I think that
United wouldn't do that in the Premier League.
Well, and part of why they perform so poorly in the Premier League, we've said it before, is that they know how bad they are currently. Yeah. They know what to expect from the other sides. They always feel like they are underdogs, but they know that they should feel like the big dog, and that's where they get bit in the ass. I think that for some reason in this competition, they get to just say, all right, Galatasaray, let's see what happens. Like, we don't really, there's no no pressure because there's no reference points. They don't know exactly what to expect, so they get to go be a little more free.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting enough, I feel like Maguire is playing a little bit better under Amorim. I think that's interesting. That's very, very, I think he has his place there. The way he plays better under Amorim style. But the rest, but the rest is, I don't even know what to say. They just trash.
And now Martinez is hurt. And you know what I think about Martinez anyway, so I don't think that it really affects them that much. Yeah. But, I mean, it is unfortunate. Although, he spent half the season trying to hurt other players, then he gets hurt, and it's kind of...
Well, they might as well knock Old Trafford down and start rebuilding the whole thing from from when it was
and I guess he's learned to not play Kobe Mainoo as a number 9. Ooh. If there's ever anything that he learned, I guess he learned that. That's a good thing to learn from. That you don't put your CDM in your fucking front line. Anyway,
I know.
That's wild.
That's why I say I will really cut him a slack, but at least we need to see some spark of light, like something that shows us, oh man, next season this thing might be fire. But if it's still the same thing, we're not looking forward for next season. You might as well just drop down to the championship.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Anyway. Well, like I say, and I say every time.
You say it every time. Say it one more time.
Before, let me first give you some kind of content. I said this. Wow. Go and follow us. If you want to watch us, TikTok, Instagram. Even if the ban TikTok, go on Instagram, we are there. And go on YouTube, turn on that bell notification, follow us, listen to us, and go on Spotify if you don't want to see us.
Early uploads to Spotify. The night before the videos release. So if you, like he said, don't want to see our faces, which I get, but more importantly, you can't wait. You gotta have this thing right now. You like falling asleep to the sounds of our voices. I get it. My wife says the same thing. That's why she falls asleep while we're talking all the time.
Well, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Goodbye.